Hi, welcome to another episode of Shyamal's Chess Game Show, episode 3 for January 3rd, 2022. And today I'm going to talk about this game I had where I'm black, and it took place yesterday, where I'm black as advanced coder and the opponent is VZ 1947. I end up winning, but it's quite an interesting game. So let's dive right in. The opponent, as white, moves their pawn, e-pawn, 2 spaces to e4. This is a very typical move, e4. And I counter with b6, which opens up the queen side. They respond with taking control of this d4 square with hopefully with bishop to c4, And I counter with my bishop to b7, trying to attack that kingside pawn that was opened up with e4. They progress on by moving their to support that pawn, move their pawn to d3. This is kind of atypical opening because they closed down that side. So it makes me think twice about this. Is this really a typical player or not? So what is the reasoning behind their logic? So I moved to open up the queen sides for eventual castle king side by putting the knight on c6, opening up a very nice game. And the opponent moves knight to f3. So just progressing the typical opening. We're trying to develop a castle king side for the white king. I respond by moving my pawn and playing aggressive by moving pawn to e4, e5, sorry, and opening up the spaces for the queen to get out and for a king castle on queen side. The king is castled on the king side, and we progress from there with me moving my queen out to f6. Now, if you think about this, it's not typical for you to move your queen outside very quickly. It's very rare. And moving it out to f6 is considerable danger because you can always get in a perpetual type of game where the knight keeps on checking you and you run out of squares to put your queen, and it gets in a very strange situation. And you can see that there's kind of a danger here. This bishop here can move here, and if I castle queen side, then it can fork this queen on this rook. But as you'll see as I move on, it progresses much better, and then there's the support from this knight here to protect this bishop if it moves there. Now the opponent is trying to avoid me moving my bishop to b4 by putting a pawn on uh, a3, sorry, pushing it one space out. I do the same here on the other side with h6 pawn to avoid the situation confrontation with a just avoid that situation. Now they start attacking my queen side with a pawn to b4, and that's not a big deal. I just castle queen side and get out of this situation. Now they are attacking this pawn of interest, this e5 pawn, with both the knight and the bishop, and possibly soon in the future the d4 to pawn might be involved too. But let's see what happens. I move counter by pushing my kingside pawns without development on my kingside, any development except the pawns, to start attacking that side because I have that side to my progression, to my advantage. Sorry, it makes it very exciting, game. And then he moves to scare my knight and run up his pawns on my queen side. I get really scared. It's not really scary. It's just a little bit resistance. So I move my knight to d4 to avoid this confrontation, and I leave it to my queen to hold up that particular pawn, until necessary. Now he exchanges, I exchange back, and put my pawn on d4. Um, now he pushes the other pawn for eventual confrontation on the queen side with the king well protected. And now how do I counter that? I move my bishop to make it even more strengthened in case it is necessary to have that particular king in jeopardy by a queen and rook combo. The pawn moves furthermore, and I am not worried. I take the castle takes, and I put my bishop in a position where there's no attack now exists on the queen side, and I can start progressing my attack on the king side with my pawns and my other pieces. And then he or she, I don't know if it's he or she, moves their rook to back so they can start attacking that particular pawn, and they can start. So what do I do? How do I respond? I move my I get everything ready to go with my knight to e7, making my both of my rooks on the same file, same row, and he counters by moving getting attacking mode with his knight to d2. I push my pawn here now, forking both the pawn and the bishop. He takes, I take. Now here, why did I take with my knight? Because I don't want to open up anything on my queen side with my king still not in on b8, so I avoid that. Now he pushes down his knight on e4, protected by, both pieces are protected by his pawn. And now what do? He's trying to attack my queen. I go back and stay away from the action, but still protect that pawn that's protected both by my bishop and by my queen, maintaining authority in the middle of the board and progression. And now he does the eventual queen rook combo on the A file, AA column, and that prompts me to move my king to B8 to protect that pawn with the help of that B6 bishop. And then he moves back his removes the cloak of his bishop to add pressure by that particular rook. So I move my to avoid this, to have more protection on that pawn, which is very critical and very important later in the game. I move my knight to f4, start attacking pieces if in case there's any need to. And the case moves out. He or she the person moves the pawn to c4 to strengthen their diagonal of pawns, and I take, starting my lead in the game by 1 point, and they move their knight back to d2 because they don't want to lose their knight because there's no support for it. And I take the bishop, which kills any attack now, which removes any scariness in the game. The person takes with the queen on b2. I move my queen out back into action. Let's see what happens now. Moves the knight to f3 to attack my queen right here. I go to the c5 to strengthen my king side, not to worry about anything. And now the queen wants to take, even though a person is down in pieces, they want to trade queen. So that's definitely a good thing to do when you're up one piece. So I take, and then the person takes with the rook on a3. I take the knight, so to start pushing my pawn. He moves the rook to attack that particular pawn. I keep on pushing. Now we're in trouble, right? No, we're not. I find a place, a d3 here, to attack his bishop, attack the person's bishop, while keeping my pawn at bay. He protects it. I'm like, okay, that's okay. I'll go to d4, stay away from the check. Now I only have to worry about one particular pawn. And somehow he takes, which is not a very good move, because I take, and the game is pretty much over. And there's a resignation at the end. And so my rating goes up to 1765. I'm pretty happy about it. Classical, 30 minutes, 10-second increment, rated classical 20 hours ago. Me versus VIZE 1947 at 1854, went down 7 points. This is a really exciting game because, if you had played, it would have I would have won for sure. Just a matter of calculating the right end game and keeping the king at bay. And I had that particular bishop pinned with his knight, not knight, his rook, so it created all sorts of havoc. And so that's pretty much it. And thank you for watching, and I look forward to the next broadcast, the next episode of Shyamal Chandra's chess game show. Okay? All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.